You know, one of the reasons from day one that I urged the House Republican leadership, John Boehner in specific, to immediately establish a select committee to investigate the IRS was to ensure that the best legal, investigative, and prosecutorial minds they have among the Republicans in the House would be on such a committee. And if the Democrats want to participate, great. If they don't, fine. If they want to obstruct, that's their problem. But with a majority, the Republicans could move ahead. This is a very, very serious scandal that cuts to the heart of the Republic. I mean, this is like the old Soviet Union, this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, had that committee been set up immediately, timely, rather than committee chairmen tripping over themselves as they have, these disclosures now would have a different consequence for the agency and for these individuals from the commissioner on down. Now, as you know, I run Landmark Legal Foundation, and we litigate cases like this. And I want to read something to you, and then I want to tie it to what's going on in Congress, and we'll play some audio, but I want to put some information on the table that you may not know and you may not have in terms of how this could have been handled. This is from a Washington Compost article, July 24, 2003. Almost 11 years ago. A federal judge yesterday held the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in contempt for violating his court order by destroying computer hard drives and deleting emails of the agency's top officials in the final days of the Clinton administration and beyond. U.S. District Judge Royce C. Lamberth ruled that agency officials, through a mixture of ignorance and egregious inattention, failed to comply with his January 2001 restraining order that the agency preserve and protect its records concerning environmental rules written in the final months before Bill Clinton was to leave office. Lambert's order was issued January 19, 2001, one day before George W. Bush's inauguration. A conservative group, Landmark Legal Foundation, had sued the agency in the fall of 2000 to turn over public documents on the rules. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, we have to expect these departments and agencies in the hands of the left are going to violate the Freedom of Information Act law, are going to obstruct Congress, and are going to continue to try and operate in the shadows to advance their radical left agenda. Then EPA Administrator Carol M. Browner had her computer hard drive destroyed on the same day the order was issued. That was a finding of the judge, and Deputy Administrator W. Michael McCabe deleted emails in the days right after. Then General Counsel Gary S. Guzzi did not alert top officials or staff about the order, nor did the U.S. Attorney's Office, though it was handling the case. The judge's contempt ruling means it was civil contempt. The agency will have to pay Landmark's legal fees, Lambert decline, and so forth and so on. So the Environmental Protection Agency was held in contempt. And the reason was, early in September of 2000, we sought information about the regulations that the Clinton administration was preparing to issue right before it would leave office. And my concern was that they would destroy the records. And so we had filed for, in essence, a motion for a protective order, or if you will, a restraining order, to put the EPA on notice that it was to leave its hard drives, its backup servers, physical documents like emails alone, and make sure they're preserved and destroy nothing. And you want to lay the predicate, lay the foundation in court with a judge who signs an order because they refused to respond to us. And we went into court and said, Your Honor, it's been since September. They will not comply. They will not respond. We proposed an order through our motion, and he signed it. That now meant if any of these items or any of this information was destroyed, wittingly or unwittingly, the EPA was now on the hook. And if we could find individuals who were aware of the order and violated the order, they would be on the hook for potential criminal contempt. It depends on the mens rea, the state of mind, if you will. And I won't get further into the weeds. That would make it much, much harder when a federal judge holds somebody in criminal contempt. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the Department of Justice, can't just blow it off as a political issue. They have to act on it. Because then it's the judicial system, the court, the judge, him or herself, versus the perpetrator, versus the violator. And how many times, those of you who listen to this program, have I said, did I say from day one, we need a select committee with people who know what they're doing to take on this agency, the IRS. I and Landmark Legal Foundation have taken on the IRS before. At the same time we were fighting with the EPA, we were fighting with the IRS. And we got thousands and thousands of pages of documents that showed that members of Congress were trying to prod, push, threaten the EPA to investigate individuals and political groups they didn't like. This was 10, 12 years ago. It was published in the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Times and Investors Business Daily. It was all over the place. The members of Congress who were pushing it, and here we are again. This is what I mean. I get so frustrated and furious with the Speaker of the House and the rest of them who do not know how to conduct these things. To wait and wait and wait for a select committee on Benghazi. And you will recall that it wasn't Congress that got this ball rolling. People, Tea Party groups, they were going to their members of Congress. They were begging members of Congress. They were saying we were being abused by the IRS. Look at these questions they're asking us. Oh, they sent letters to the IRS. Well, it's the IRS that's the problem. So I sent a complaint to the Tax Administration Division of the Inspector General's office at the Department of Treasury. And I don't have the power to subpoena. I don't have the power to call witnesses. I don't have the power to depose these people. And they came into my office at Landmark, 2 of them, armed, interviewed me for an hour, and launched their investigation that's led to all the rest of this. I'm not patting myself on the back. I shouldn't have to do this. Congress is supposed to do this. So now what are they going to do? Hold somebody in contempt? And what's Eric Holder going to do? Nothing. They should have laid the predicate in federal court. It was ultimately the Supreme Court that ordered Nixon to turn over tapes, despite Congress's threats. Do the Republicans not learn from history? Do they not know how to conduct investigations? Do they not know how to deal with a scandal that's staring it in the face? This IRS commissioner, the former IRS commissioner, this Lois Lerner, they should all be facing criminal contempt as far as I'm concerned. The problem is the stage wasn't set. The legal foundation wasn't created. I'm not playing Mr. Lawyer here. I'm telling you how it works. But they wouldn't do it. I wish this wasn't the case, but today it is the case. And the reason you bring the courts into the system is because when something like this happens, it's an order, basically a preservation, a restraining order. You preserve X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And when something like this occurs, whether we like it or not today, this is the way it works. You want to pull in the courts You want this to be a violation of a court order because then it's an attack on the judicial system. Then the judges get their backs up. Then they insist on action. And then the U.S. Attorney, the Department of Justice, can no longer ignore it. I've called for a special prosecutor for day one, but I've also known that Eric Holder is corrupt. He's not going to appoint one. Now, we're going to play some of the audio. You've heard it throughout the day, but you haven't heard me comment on it, respecting some of what went on today at the House Ways and Means Committee. And you're going to hear an IRS commissioner and a Democrat party that doesn't believe in the rule of law. They're in full obstruction mode. They're in full cover-up mode. And at least for now, there's not a damn thing we can do about it. Because the executive branch won't act, that part that can. The courts are not involved, so they're not even watching. It's committee members who are upset, rightly so, beating the table, beating their chests, frustrated as hell. And I'm telling you that this was hugely mishandled by the Speaker of the House, the then Majority Leader Cantor, the then Whip McCarthy. They blew it, and they blew it big time, because this is one of the great scandals of the century. The Sovietization of the Internal Revenue Service to use against people who you disagree with, their views, their politics, their religion even. And Congress sits there.